Hi, we're here today to talk about sleep quality of school-aged children. So, sleep is very essential for children in order to grow and develop. That's when a lot of growth actually occurs, is at night. So, sleeping the number of recommended hours for each age group is actually associated with a lot of positive behaviors. So, it's associated with improved attention, behavior, memory, learning, physical, and mental health. And another study that was done found that 25 to 62% of children are not getting the minimum required hours of sleep each night, and that some children are actually experiencing sleeping difficulty, whether that be falling asleep at night, um, difficulties staying asleep. That 25 to 62% of children, depending on the developmental stage, are experiencing some difficulties. So, how much sleep is your child actually supposed to get? So, this is recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics. So, hopefully, your child is the school aged age range, and that would be the 6 to 12-year-olds, and they are required to get 9 to 12 hours of sleep each night. However, if you're interested and you have children in other age ranges, I included the other ones as well. So, what can we do to help promote sleep? And that's kind of where sleep hygiene comes in. And so these are techniques developed to improve sleep in children. So, sleep hygiene is a set of behavioral environmental recommendations intended to promote healthy sleep. The National Foundation of Sleep has come out with a long list of sleep hygiene techniques in order to help promote healthy sleep. But this study is specifically going to define sleep hygiene as having a consistent bedtime, a bedtime routine, and a relaxing environment in order to promote sleep. So, in order to make it a little easier, I'm going to be using this tool created by Tan, Healy, Gray, and Golland. They originally created this tool to be implemented in the adolescent age group, so the 10 to 18-year-olds. But we're going to rework this tool and use it in the school-aged group. So the tool is called Ferret, and each of those letters stands for something. So the F stands for food, E, emotions, the first R, routine, the second R, restrict, the second E, environment, and the T is for timing. And this program covers the three main aspects of sleep hygiene, which is the sleep routine, the sleep environment, and eating and drinking habits before bed. And for each category of the program, there are three rules pertaining to sleep hygiene. So let's break it down a little bit. So the first F is food. So rule one would be don't drink anything 30 minutes before bed, whether that be something as simple as a glass of water, because the child may wake up in the middle of the night and have to go to the bathroom. Rule two is staying away from food and caffeine 3 hours before bed. And rule three may not pertain to your child since your child is 6 to 12. But again, this tool was originally designed for 10 to 18-year-olds, but no alcohol or smoking 3 hours before bed. So even if your child is not drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes, you still don't want them to be around that. So if you or someone in your household smokes, try not to smoke around them the 3 hours before bed. Um, the first E is emotions. So rule one is set a time during the day for things you want to think about or plan for. So kind of set a time in the maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, maybe after dinner. That way, your child has time to plan things instead of having to sit in bed and think about all the things they have to do the next day. Rule two is wind down and relax 30 minutes before bed. Whether that be reading a book, um, watching a or doing a craft or something that makes them happy, something that relaxes them. And rule three is try not to worry, think, or about things or plan things in bed. So that kind of goes back to rule one. We don't really want to spend too much of our time in bed really thinking and planning about things for the next day. So the first R is routine. So rule one with that would be wake up and go to bed the same time every day. It's really good to have that consistent schedule. That way your body knows when it is time to go to sleep. Rule 2 is bring light into your room when you wake up and dim the lights before you go to bed. So you want to try to have your room pretty dark when you sleep. It's okay to have a nightlight, but you don't want it really bright and stimulating when your child's going to sleep. And as they're waking up, it's kind of good to open up the blinds, turn on the lamp. That way your body's naturally adjusting to the light and your body knows it's time to wake up. Rule 3 is your sleep routine should be kept the same every day, which I know sometimes is hard to do, but we want to try to keep it as consistent as possible. So the same timing, try to do the same order of things. So part 2, so the next half of these rules. So the second R is restrict. So rule 1 is no electronic media, such as iPods, TV, phones, video games, at least 30 minutes before bed. Rule 2 is no exercise 3 hours before bed. And rule 3 is don't do anything else in bed except sleep. I kind of touched on this earlier, but again, it's not just about the thinking in when you're actually trying to go to sleep, but it's doing activities in the bed. So don't eat dinner in the bed, don't do homework in the bed because your brain will actually start to correlate those items and it might stimulate your brain when you go to bed and it might be thinking it's doing homework. Um, for the second E, environment, rule 1 is you should be comfortable in pajamas and your bedroom. So you just want to try to create a comfortable, relaxing environment. Rule 2 is control light, temperature, and noise. I kind of touched on light earlier, wanting it to be dark, that way you could go to sleep. Temperature, try to be as comfortable as you can. If you're cold, maybe bring a blanket into bed. And noise. No one can really sleep comfortably if it's really loud and noisy in their room. And then rule 3 is keep clocks faced away from your bed. That way, if you're constantly looking at the clock, you're going to be counting down the hours of how much more sleep you're going to be getting instead of actually just going to sleep and getting the sleep that you need. And then the final set of rules is timing. So, rule 1, try not to sleep more or less than your recommended hours of sleep. So, that 9 to 12 hours that I had mentioned earlier. Rule 2 is the rules have been kept in 30 minutes or 3 hours before bed to help you try to remember them easier. And then rule 3 is try to stick to the rules. I know not every rule may correlate with you and your household, but these rules have tried to keep it simplified. That way you could start to implement sleep hygiene techniques in your children to promote better sleep in their lives. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for completing the survey, and thank you for listening to this presentation. Within 30 days of this presentation, you're going to receive a follow-up survey, and if you don't mind filling that out as well. But if you have any questions, please email me at lappedel@vols.utk.edu. Thank you so much. And these are my references. If you have any questions about any of the studies I referred to, this is where I got that information. So thank you so much for your time.